This is Gloomy Sunday, and once again, I will be sharing spooky stories that will send shivers down your thorny spine. Without further ado, let's begin tonight's creepy, spooky, and sometimes outlandish array of tales. Sit back, relax, and enjoy. Back in the 1990s, when we first immigrated to the US, our relatives helped us find a rental home in Sunnyvale, California. It was incredibly cheap, but the house was old, the windows were sealed tightly, and an unbearable odor lingered throughout. The furniture from the previous tenant was still there. I vividly remember my dad pointing out a small pot on the stove, which still held an egg from the last renter. Strange things began happening almost immediately. My parents often mentioned seeing a cat that would sit by the window, staring into the house. At night, they'd hear footsteps in the kitchen, the clinking of pots and pans, and the sound of the sink being turned on and off. One particular night, my dad woke up to see the bathroom light on. The bathroom was across the hall from their bedroom, and the door was slightly ajar. Through the gap, he could see someone sitting on the toilet, their feet swinging back and forth. Exhausted, he didn't think much of it and called out, "Honey, close the bathroom door." To his shock, a hand slowly reached out from the bathroom and pushed the door partially shut. The next morning, my dad asked my mom, "Were you feeling sick last night?" She looked confused and replied, "No, what are you talking about?" He recounted the entire incident, adding, "But I saw you. You were in the bathroom. You even giggled when I told you to close the door." My mom's face turned pale as she said, "That wasn't me. I was asleep next to you the whole night." Realizing the gravity of what had happened, they grabbed me from my bed and rushed across the street to my grandmother's house. The next day, we packed up and moved out. A day later, my aunt was talking with a friend who asked, "Why did you let your cousins move into that house?" "My uncle died there. He had a stomach issue and passed away while using the bathroom. They didn't find his body for a week." When my aunt told my parents this, everything began to make sense. The landlord later admitted that the man's body had started decomposing before it was discovered. After we moved out, another family moved in. My parents warned them about the house, but they didn't believe us. 2 days later, they moved out in a hurry. Over time, it became clear that no one could stay in that house for more than a week. Honestly, when you move into a house or apartment, you really don't know the history and the tenants that used to live there. Landlords won't tell you, and real estate people won't either. Let's read the next story. This is a story that deeply unsettled me, something I never expected to happen. To set the scene, our house has a hallway that leads to 3 bedrooms. At the end of the hallway, my sister and I share the room straight ahead. My parents' room is to the right, and my brother's room is to the left. It was Thanksgiving, and we had just returned from spending the day at our cousin's place. After a long evening of eating and socializing, we came home exhausted. My dad was the first to take a shower. About 10 minutes later, he came out of the bathroom, walked straight to the living room, got down on his knees, and bowed to his Buddhas. He started chanting words I couldn't quite understand. At that moment, I knew something was wrong. He had seen or heard something. When he finished, he told us we couldn't spend money for 3 days. That caught us off guard, but I didn't argue, even though it meant missing Black Friday. I've learned to trust my dad when it comes to the supernatural. He has a gift. He can see, hear, and communicate with spirits and other entities, including tigers and other beings tied to Hong beliefs. The next morning, Black Friday, I woke up to my dad yelling, which is very unlike him. He rarely raises his voice. My mom asked me to cook because she, my dad, and my brothers were heading to the store. They returned an hour or two later, and we ate together. After the meal, my dad started crafting something, a doll made out of sticks. He asked us to find fabrics in black, red, and green. As he wrapped the fabric around the doll, it dawned on me that he was making a traditional Malaysian man's outfit for the figure. I was confused but decided to let it go and went to my room to get ready for the day. While I was getting ready, I overheard my brother talking to my sister outside my door. My sister came into the room looking shaken. When I asked her what was wrong, she hesitated and said she wasn't supposed to tell me. If I wanted to know, I'd have to see for myself in our parents' room. Curious, I went to the doorway of their room. My sister asked me if I could see anything. At first, I didn't notice, but after a few seconds, I froze. There, on the floor, was a tiger's paw print, clear as day. Panic set in, and I quickly went to the living room. My parents sat silently on the couch. My dad eventually stood up and told us to follow him. He wanted to show us what had happened. He first led us to his bedroom door, where we saw the same paw print etched into the wood. Then, he showed us the marks on my brother's room and my room. The prints were identical, positioned in the same spot on each door. However, the one on my door was more pronounced. Back in the living room, my dad explained that the tiger had come to our house during the night. He said my sister and my room is the one it visits and attacks the most, likely because our bedroom window faces the backyard and aligns with the hallway. He revealed that at 3 a.m., the tiger had come to my sister, roaring and yelling at her. I was stunned. How could that have happened while I was in the same room, and as a light sleeper, not hear a thing? But I knew from our culture that sometimes, these things are hidden from certain people. The thought of the tiger favoring our room terrifies me. I can't shake the feeling that it could come back at any moment. The fear of the unknown, of something you can't see or predict, is overwhelming. It might not sound scary to you as a listener, but if you were in my shoes, you'd understand just how frightening it is. Tigers are one of the world's most dangerous animals due to their large frame, menacing teeth, and rapid speed. Imagine seeing one up close. Let's read the last story for tonight. Back when we were living in Laos, there was an old couple who had only one son. Their son's name was Chin. Although Chin was already a grown man, he was not very handsome, not very tall, and a bit different from other men. He was shy and didn't know how to talk to women, so his parents never had the chance to welcome a daughter-in-law. One day, a man named Woon, who lived in the same town as Chin, went hunting. It was midday, the sun high in the sky. As Woon walked along the trail, minding his business, he spotted someone in the distance. At first, Woon thought the figure looked familiar, but as it got closer, he realized it wasn't an ordinary person. The figure resembled a corpse, its skin was blue and rotting, its eyes bulging, and its tongue hung halfway out of its mouth. Blood dripped from its head. Woon rubbed his eyes, thinking he must be imagining things. But no matter how hard he tried to clear his vision, the corpse remained. It swayed as it walked, its body moving unnaturally, like a zombie. Frightened, Woon decided to hide off the path and let the corpse pass. He crouched behind some bushes and watched as it staggered by, its body lurching left and right. Just as Woon blinked, the corpse transformed. It was suddenly Chin. Woon was stunned but didn't call out, afraid he might startle Chin. Instead, He hurried home and told his parents about the strange encounter. His parents urged him to inform Chin's family immediately, as such a sight could be a bad omen. But Woon hesitated, and in the end, no one said anything to Chin's parents. A few weeks later, Chin went hunting with some relatives. While deep in the woods, someone accidentally shot him. The wound didn't seem serious, small and not deep enough to be fatal. His relatives carried him home and treated the injury, but no matter what they did, it only got worse. For an entire month, strange things happened around their house. Dogs barked incessantly every night, and cats wailed as if sensing something unnatural. On the last night before Chin died, a large bird perched in the tree beside their house. It gawked loudly, its cries echoing through the night. Some elders in the village wanted to shoot it, but others said to leave it alone, that it would leave on its own. The bird gave one final, piercing cry before flying off. That same moment, Chin took his last breath. On the day of Chin's funeral, Woon went to pay his respects. When he saw Chin's body, he froze. Chin looked exactly like the corpse he had seen on the trail weeks earlier. The same blood dripped from his head, and his stench was unbearable, filling the entire village. Blood seeped endlessly onto the wooden horse carrying his body and onto the floor beneath him. Overwhelmed, Woon finally confessed to Chin's parents about the strange encounter he had before Chin's death. The parents were devastated and furious. They believed Woon's vision had been a warning, one that might have saved Chin if they'd known about it earlier. To atone, Woon had to kill a cow as an offering to Chin's grieving parents. Even after Chin was buried, people in the village claimed his spirit lingered at his parents' house. They often heard the clinking of dishes, as if Chin was searching for food. His father would speak out to him, saying, "If you are hungry, take what you need and go on your way." I agree with Chin's parents. If only Woon informed them of his vision, Chin would probably still be alive. Regardless if it will make you look crazy or something, always tell the people involved what you saw. Don't keep it to yourself. I hope you enjoyed our spooky and strange stories. Join us next time for more. Take care and boo-bye.